Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm just gonna ask, since I had a little flash of us doing a balancing balance. So we're gonna stand up and do, let's see, the most appropriate way. Well, let's just go through all the steps. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center is the most appropriate statement for Heather to balance at this time, even though we intuitively knew that that was true. Okay, so, and we kind of did a process of elimination there too, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to put ... on that one. Okay, so let's see, Heather needs to do sensory clarification before she balances the statement. She needs to, she can make this change now using a PSYCH-K balance, a level up balance, a balancing balance. Okay, so tree pose, I guess we'll just do the level up one with a twist. Yeah, because eagle pose is the most appropriate. All right, so I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. We're going to do with just the basic balancing limit clearing process, where you're standing up. So for this one, you just need a space on the floor, you know, for standing. And then sometimes people need assistance. So maybe a doorway or a wall, or sometimes just like you can use the couch nearby to help. But we're going to be balancing on one foot. However, if you need to have both feet on the ground, you can modify it that way. So nobody needs to get nervous about, you know, if balancing on one foot is difficult for you. We have lots of modifications. So let's stand up and what are we doing? I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. So of course we're going to use a balancing physical position. And just so everybody knows, I'll be teaching how to use this statement in the level up course. I mean, not use this balancing process in level up course. So you'll learn how to ask all those questions to make sure you're balancing the right statement and doing it with the right kind of physical positioning. And if you're curious about why we use these different physical positions, you can watch the webinar about energy psychology. So that talks about the brain hemisphere congruence and everything like that. Okay, so the first thing we do is stand in mountain pose. So it's kind of like we did staff pose a minute ago. We were sitting and nothing was crossed, and we're just going to stand up and feet are plugged into the earth. The crown of the head is reaching toward the heavens, and just let the shoulders go down and back. And so just take a few breaths here to notice what you notice about your body. Moving into that internal state, away from the external. And so this is how we learn how to feel subtle energies, is just by getting still for a few minutes and taking some breaths. And just noticing what happens, what you feel, what tightness and tension might be there. So we can bring the hands, fingertips together, palms together, whatever you want to do. You can move the hands around to different chakras. But you're just going to say your statement a few times. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
Good. Inhale, say the statement, finish the exhale.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
So whenever you feel like you're ready to begin to do, we're going to do both sides just like we did with the last limit clearing process. You can just begin to shift your weight over onto one foot. Just pick one. And you can bring the foot off the floor and You're going to grab the knee with the opposite hand. If you need any kind of support, you can use the couch. You can get fancy with yoga blocks and all kinds of stuff. But you just want to have that kind of crossed thing where the opposite hand is grabbing that knee. You can use a chair. You can use whatever you want. If you can balance, try to do that. So you just want to get to the edge of whatever you can do. And then while you're saying the statement out loud, this other hand is going to float. So you start with it out in front of your heart space. Inhale, say your statement, and as you exhale and say the statement, your arm just floats a little bit. Then you're going to inhale again. Say your statement, let it drift. So it might take more than 3 times to say the statement, but you're just going to continue. Every time you exhale and say the statement, you continue to go all the way back as far as you can. So it's okay if you can't, and if you lose your balance, that's a spot. So that's like a place where you need to kind of go back. This is like a progress bar on a computer, right? We start here, and as we're going, if you lose your balance here, then back up a little bit, start over, and try to eventually get to where you're.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
Okay, so since you just lost balance, do it one more time.
Hold on, let me.
And if you need help, if you need support, like use a toe.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
There you go. All right,
I
so
easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
You've said it 3 times without losing your balance, haven't you?
Yes, but I keep I go a little bit further and then I'm losing it again.
Okay. All right, keep going. That's fine. This is good for people to see. Sometimes it takes a bunch of times to say it.
I easily notice when I lose balance in I'm losing it too.
Yeah, you can feel.
I easily notice when I lose This is a good one because I've been noticing this a lot with my kids too when I lose my connection with my senses. This is one that needs help on a lot of levels right now.
Yes. Which is why you're getting this really challenging physical posture to do. Yeah. You're doing great. Just keep at it. Yeah, you just have to keep at it. Keep breathing. Remember to breathe.
I notice when I lose balance. See? I can't even. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. All right.
Is that it for that side?
No, I just need to recenter, rebalance, regroup, and start over. Just start back, pick up where I left off.
Yes, and if you pick up just a couple inches back, on a YouTube video, if you go back to where it had saved a little bit.
Right.
Do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wherever it was more balanced. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Start in a good, really secure spot instead of on the edge. So don't just start so close to the edge.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
Yeah, this is perfect.
I can feel that this is a good, and it helps to actually stop Find your center where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. Yeah, see, I go back and then it's, but I'm getting a little further each time. This is a
Yeah,
good one.
just keep breathing and really focus on the spine lengthening every time. Inhale taller.
See, and my foot's turning to match it, like to go too.
Yeah.
Every time I turn my head, it's like.
And so this is
with my head, right?
right. And this is a good illustration of why like the eye position is important.
Yeah.
Right? To go all the way to one side with the eyes and then all the way to the other side as far as you can, right? And so, and I'll just say for, you know, people watching this, like, this is why we're doing this balance together, Heather and I, because like if she was at home doing this, she might have like glossed over it or, you know, like, or given up because she kept losing her balance or like, you know, who knows? So that's another reason that we will, you know, sometimes work on certain balances together and then you'll get other ones for homework. You know, there's always a reason for the order.
I got a little further. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily, ooh. I don't think I've ever had this hard of a time doing a balance either. And I've done this balance before.
It's a big one.
It's a big one using balance on balance. So it's like.
Well, usually when we're balancing about something about connecting with our guidance or connecting with our center or connecting with our, like the balancing balance comes up every time. Like just about. There might be something.
Before, but this one is, this one's, it's a good one. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. Well, I got all the way there, but I feel like I need to say it once, like all the way in the back. Too.
Yeah. So get into the pose, really like intentionally get into the pose, find your center, and then say it.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
Yes, now you can feel it.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, so we haven't muscle tested it yet, but we know that we got that side because we can feel it. And you know, and that's what I'm, you know, once somebody starts having a hard time like this, like getting the statement balanced, I'll just like focus on moving the energy rather than maybe demonstrating the pose, you know? So sometimes I'm not giving up on anyone. I'm sitting here like really like doing some energy work with you. And I'm in surrogacy for you when we're doing this. So it's, you know, I can feel a lot of the, you know, whether it's moving or not, definitely like the stagnation or the, so yeah, we got that one. I know we did. Yeah. All right. So we're going to do the other side. Well, let's actually, we didn't do silently. So we'll come back to mountain pose and do it silently. So eyes are closed and you're saying it silently at least 3 times, but maybe a few more times. You're also noticing how the body feels compared to the last mountain pose you did.
My foot got sore from balancing there.
Yes. And so there's some energy that needs to keep moving out. And so you can focus on it. There's lots of different techniques. I'll, you know, direct people to like.
Yeah, I was just breathing into it and it feels a little better now as I was doing that statement.
Yes. So that's coming back to the center is such an important part of this process. It's the stillness part of the process. It's the feminine energy and the observation of how does my body feel, where's the energy moving and where's it blocked, and what, just noticing whatever you notice. And people who haven't felt subtle energies before, you will start to feel them when you continue to go there and just bring your awareness.
And I just feel like it makes so much sense that is where because that's grounding, right?
Yes.
That's the grounding energy that I was using, that you have to keep stable, yeah.
Yes. All right. So when you're ready to do the other side, you'll just shift your weight to the other foot and very slowly. And so this side might be different. You might not be able to balance on one side as well as the other, and that's okay. So just find your edge, whatever the edge is. If you need assistance on this one, use assistance. Just find the edge of your limit of where you can balance, and then begin. Inhale tall, exhale, float.
I easily notice when I lose my connection with my center. Oh.
That's okay.
I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I've noticed, for anyone that's having a hard time with this one, I've noticed if I take a minute and hold the position, let my eyes drop for a minute and recenter, then I can go back to the same position and it's a little bit more stable. So that's been, I was kind of drawn to that, and it helps me. So I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center. Even getting balanced again is. My foot wants to turn too, no, make it a little easier. You're muted. You must have coughed and muted yourself.
Okay, so what I was saying is sometimes if you're having a hard time with doing one of these balances, these limit clearing processes, the physical part of it, it's okay to back up and get some extra support, right? So like I said, air quotes, ask for help. And that could mean a stool, I'm just gonna, if I can get a stool and, and because even though you've done this pose before a zillion times, in yoga class and wherever else you've done all the balancing that you've been able to do, you know, and
This one
kickboxing
might.
class and martial arts. Like we get where we can physically do it, and then we add this statement, and it's like, fuck no, you're
Knocks you off balance.
center,
Yeah.
right? And so, and for people who, you know, have had that experience of like, I've done this one before and I can balance just fine, and you're really just like cannot stay balanced. Like, it is okay, and in fact, I recommend asking for help, right? Like,
just
getting a stool, getting a bolster, getting a folded up blanket, like whatever you need to do to physically support yourself is okay. It's not admitting defeat,
right?
Or that you didn't do it right, or that, you know, like, it's okay to back up a little bit and do a modification that you've never needed before.
Right. Yeah.
So some people like start where they can't even balance at all, and so like every bit of progress is progress, and like, you know, whatever. But some people they're like, I can balance, I've done this pose before, you know. But this is proof that like there is something in your subconscious that is like, nope, I'm gonna knock you off balance every time you try. Oh, you gonna try again? Okay, keep trying. Right.
See, I feel like I can feel that, but I feel like also I can feel the progress too. So I feel like I want to struggle through it to like just get it like cleared.
So there's a good metaphor. Why do we have to struggle through it? I want you to right now go get some kind of something. I don't know. So you can like put your toe just barely on the thing and lift it off. And
well, yeah, I feel like that would get me through it, but because we're supposed to find the edge of our, like whenever we're doing the balances, right? We're supposed to feel the edge.
And it's the edge of where you are today.
Right.
Not what you've done before.
No, definitely. But I can, because I feel myself making progress, then I feel like I'm okay.
So why do you want to struggle through it? Why don't you want to make it easier on yourself?
Oh, well, I felt like the edge is always like that little bit of pain, right? The edge is like that little bit of discomfort that we're finding, right?
Yes, but it's going to look different every day. And right.
Yeah, well, and it's harder today because but I just feel like the struggle is because it's a deeper balance. And so it's okay. So I'm not like, I'm just like working through that to balance it. In my eyes, I'm not struggling in it. In my eyes, I'm just working through the balance.
Yes.
That happens to be a deeper balance.
Yes. And all I'm saying is this is coming up for a reason. So let's muscle test it and see. It's in Heather's highest and best interest to get some sort of something to put her toes on. And I'm getting as strong for that. So our ego will stop us from taking those steps backwards to say, I'm going to go backwards, you know, air quotes backwards, and use a prop, even though I've never needed one before or whatever.
Yeah, like that wasn't even in my mind. I was just like,
no, I know it wasn't.
It's a deep pose, or it's a deep statement that I know that I have a lot of, like, there's a lot, even as we were talking about it, I was like, yeah, there's a lot of areas that actually this is applying to.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just like, okay, well, it's just going to be more difficult. That's okay. I was just like, yeah, this one's going to be like harder. So that's fine. Like I was just like,
and we did that one side. We struggled through the one side. Right. And so now this is coming up. And this is another reason why, like, it's the statement that we're doing together.
Right.
For us, for your highest and best, for the people watching's highest and best, everything. Right. So like, I'm just mentioning that our ego,
it doesn't have to be a struggle. Like it's just the like balance of.
Right. And I mean, it's just a really good example of how these balances are a metaphor for our lives.
Right.
Like if we have, right.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a struggle.
It doesn't have to be a struggle.
And even if it's a deep change, it still doesn't have to be a struggle.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I was like, yeah, this is harder than it's ever been, but this is.
But that's okay.
One.
Because you're a warrior. Because you're gonna fucking fight through it, right? And that is part of this.
Well, and because it was more just like, yeah, great. This is a deep.
You're excited that it's a struggle.
Work through this. Like, let's clear this. Let's work through it. You know, like it was like a. But it still doesn't have to be like something that you work through anyways. Like it doesn't have to.
Yes. And I mean, with all that said, yeah, we're still going to have moments that we struggle, and we're still going to have, like to push through some things that we don't want to, push through some resistance that
right.
But I mean, that was a great illustration of resistance you had to using a prop and you going backwards, right? For whatever reason. Like there's so many reasons that we do that. Right. And
yeah, well, in my mind, I was just like, the deep one. It's okay if it's harder.
Right. And so that's why I'm bringing it back to the masculine energy of everything has to be a struggle. We have to do point A to point B. And if we don't do point A to point B in exactly the way that everybody said we're supposed to, then, blah, blah, blah. And so there's those things get in the way of our healing. Right. Yeah. And when we can move into the feminine energy of, this is really a lot harder than it ever has been for me. I wonder why. And like, we're able to do that with our kids. We're able to notice like, oh, they could do this last week, but now they can't. Oh, that's okay. We're just going to back up, honey. We'll just back up to where you feel comfortable.
I don't do that with my kids. That is, I'm creating some wounds in my kids for sure.
Right. We all have done that. Right. But it's because they were created in ourselves because we were pushed. Oh, it's going to be a struggle. It'll be worth it if it was a struggle.
Yeah.
You're going to get it, and so then we feel guilty because then we learn how to do this work and everything gets easier. And then we're like, oh shit, it's not a struggle anymore. So now I feel guilty. So now I got to find another area of my life to struggle in so that I can,
all these stories that we tell ourselves. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So use a thing and then you can be an inch above it, but just having that thing an inch below your toe might make it easier.
All I have is these short little stools and I don't want to be like all the way down there, but my table is the perfect length because it's like.
Okay. Yeah. You can get creative on what you use till it's the right place. There you go.
I forgot my statement for this. I easily recognize when I lose. I easily recognize when I lose connection with my center.
There it is.
Okay.
Inhale.
I easily recognize when I lose connection with my center. I easily recognize when I lose connection with my center. I easily recognize when I lose connection with my center. All right.
There we go. Yeah. Yay. Thank you for being the, guinea.
Actually, you know what? This is a good one too, because I plan on telling Mike to watch this. And if he does, then he's going to have to modify some poses. And I know that he's like self-conscious about that. And so, here you go.
Right. We all have to modify poses. And yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. And it's so interesting all the meaning that we try to put on it. And that we could really talk for an hour about all
the. You don't have to struggle to try to do you don't have to struggle.
Yeah.
It can be easy.
Yes. And we do want to find the edge. We do want to find that little bit of where you're feeling stretched, where you're feeling, some people call it discomfort and pain, but it's really just the edge of a stretch or the edge of a ability, right? Like, with balancing, it's a different way to look at it than stretching, balancing.
Yeah, the edge of the ability is a good, like when you start to feel off center, when you start to stretch that center of the, yeah.
Yeah, and so that really helps us. So that's
stepping out of your comfort zone, but not into struggle.
Right, because when you're in too much struggle, then it takes for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody not good.
Yeah. Well, if all of them were as difficult as that one just was for me, and we actually worked through them all that way, how often would we actually do our practice?
Right. And I mean,
because sometimes the only reason I do it is because I'm like, okay, it's only going to take a couple of minutes. Let me just do it. Yes, that makes sense.
Right. And of course that's why this showed up on this video in this way, because that is a really big piece of this whole puzzle of like healing and releasing all the shit we need to release in order to do the things that we want to do in the world.
And there are so many reasons that will come up to us. Like there's so many. It's not always like, oh, the ego, or it's not always like, sometimes you just think that, oh, okay, like this struggle is good because it's getting some change done. And then you're like, yeah, but it doesn't actually have to be a struggle. Like,
oh yeah. Right. But that's a belief
that I've had. Yeah, it is. Like and then as soon as I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't have to be a struggle, I'm like, duh, because all of the big changes that I've had, we already discussed. You look back and go, oh, hey, look, I'm handling this completely differently, and I didn't even recognize that anything changed. It just came naturally. There was no struggle at all.
But I will say for everyone watching that a lot of things changed because Heather did her practice, and she showed up and she did the statements that her higher self said, this is, if you want to do this, this is what you need to clear.
So many statements. Like I have been doing the email sessions with you for a year. Every 2 weeks, I get like 5 statements or more. Sometimes there's 10. I get so many statements, and I do my practice. I show up for it like every 2 weeks pretty much. And, you know, there's been some things here or there that have like interfered with that here and there, but every 2 weeks.
Yes. And the results happen sometimes kind of under the radar because, you know, you've been, and like today you did something that you knew was big. You felt how big it was. Like we're, you know, so when we do those kind of statements, like we'll leave our appointment a lot of times like, holy shit, you know, feeling so expanded, like, oh my God, I'm unstoppable. And, you know, but what we accomplished today is a result of all of this work that we've done in the last year too. You would never have been able to do this level of expanding today, you know, if you hadn't have shown up for yourself all those times when it really kind of felt like maybe a little bit of nothing, you know, a 5-minute twist here and there, and I said some statements, and I don't know if I felt anything, but like, okay, but at least I showed up for myself, and I, you know, made the commitment. And
and not only that, but still showing up in those times where I'm like, where you're feeling like none of the daily practices that you normally do really feel like they're doing much for you, because you're just feeling so like, I don't know what to do. And in my experience, that time that I've been in, I've gone through it a few times now where I've recognized at this point that when you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do, and I feel like nothing's working and I can't figure out my next step, that's usually when the universe has everything up in the air, and you just need to sit in your feminine energy and move energy in a feminine way and just wait until it all falls down and puts those steps in front of you so you can start walking again and climbing the stairs again. And it'll happen. And if you keep doing the work, it'll happen within usually a week or so.
Right.
It's usually not too long. It doesn't take too long for that to happen.
Yes. But we're so afraid of that feminine energy of being still. And I mean, okay, so let's just get to the basics of being in a female body. It has never been safe to be open and receptive in the feminine energy, because you know what will happen to the female body when we let our defenses
are just open. And
so there's all that generational trauma, you know, ancestral karma, whatever you want to call it, you know, just being in a female body makes it not safe to be in your body. You know, and then to embody the feminine energy in a way that we really need to in order to create in the world in powerful ways, like that isn't just another layer, right? So we get impatient, you know, because we have been told that the masculine energy is more valuable. And what's your progress? Have you done it from point A to point B? And if you're point D now, well, then you need to go to point E next. But some people need to go to point Q next. Like, who knows what, you know, it's, when you can be open and receptive, then you get the guidance of like, okay, here's stepping stone letter R. Yeah. It's out of order. And you know how many people are going to tell you it's out of order? You're doing it out of order, Heather.
Yeah.
You know, but when you're in alignment with like, oh no, I muscle tested it several times and I got my friend to help me muscle test it. Like, I'm pretty clear that this is where I need to go. Then that's when you're open and receptive to all of the abundance of every form.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to make sure that you balance that. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center, I'll muscle test it.
I fucking better have.
After all that, right?
After all that. I easily notice when I lose connection with my center.
And it's testing strong, 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 and staying strong. Yes. So we're going to celebrate.
And also, just to clarify for anyone watching, like, you know, when I made the statement, like, I'm making wounds in my children, like, yeah, I am. We all are. But luckily, when we know this, then when we know kind of what we're doing with it, and we can recognize it, then we can sit down and say, honey, that's not you. It's me. It's something I'm working on. And I'm so sorry that you are on the receiving end of that. It's not you. Because kids take everything on themselves.
That's
if you can do that, you can mitigate the wound.
Yeah,
at least
some kids do. Not all kids do. And so it depends on the personality type and like all kinds of things.
Right. So many things. But yeah.
But yes, we do. I mean, we kind of like, it's a given that we're going to screw up our kids, right? Like, you know, but that's the thing, is that we are the cycle breakers, right? Because we are breaking these subconscious patterns that, you know, and so valuable for all of our loved ones, whether it's our kids or anybody in our life. When we do this work, you know, things start to really shift, and we have to, I don't know anybody that hasn't had to say, I'm sorry, you know, I used to live by this paradigm, and I realized that it was not complete. It wasn't a lie necessarily, like, but it was not complete. And now I understand like the other end of the spectrum of like how this physical reality works. And so I'm changing my strategy. And I know it's confusing to you.
Yeah.
Right. And so we say it in different ways. Like we would say it to our spouse differently than we would say it to our kid. But we give this version of this speech to everyone in our lives at some point when we do this work, because we have new boundaries. We have new perspectives on how the world works. And we have new experiences of manifesting things by not taking action. The only action we took was to show up on our mat and to, you know, do our practice.
Yeah.
And to sit, you know, sometimes it was to sit, sometimes it's a more active practice, right? We talked about, we do the masculine and the feminine energy in our practices, but we continued to show up, and that was the only action that we needed to take, and everything fell into alignment. All those pieces fell into just the right place, and your friend is looking at you jealous, like everything always works out for you, you know, or whatever is happening.
I do the work, girlfriend.
Right. And so, yeah, so all that's just to say that it's all of us have to apologize to our loved ones and say, you know, I was blind. I was like going around like this, you know, and now I see something different, and it might take you a little time to get used to it, but this is working for me. And so, you know, you can believe whatever you want about it. Yeah. But I'm going to share, you know, and, you know, the relationship that they have, that our kids have with their fathers or their teachers or their grandparents, we have a tendency to want to micromanage those things, right? We want to, but, you know, they need to have that experience with that teacher that's belittling them for what, you know, or like whatever's happening that you're like, you want to, no, you just help them through. Like, it's not you, it's the teacher. That teacher was belittled so much that, you know, he or she doesn't even know how to interact with little people, because that, you know, like, and your kids are like, oh yeah, and they're so forgiving, and then they don't take it on, you know. So,
and especially when you can do something like me, where I have to actually come to them and tell them, I'm so sorry, I'm really bad at allowing you guys to express, and I'm working on it, but my papa didn't let me express myself, and so I'm learning and I'm healing those wounds. And then they're like, oh.
It's lovely. They come to you and they'll say, you know, like 6 months later, they'll come to you and say something about, you know, like that wound that you shared with them, or that thing, you know, like
they remember.
I remember telling, when my first child was like 3 or 4, and I was having a hard time with his grandmother, and he was asking me questions about it, you know, and I was just trying to answer as honestly as I could, but I didn't want to put anything on him that was too much, you know. And finally I just was like, she's just really needy, you know, and like, and I can't provide everything she needs. Right. And so, and he took that. And once he had that tool of like, oh yeah, she just has this thing about her that she, you know, looks to other people to fulfill her needs. And, you know, and so then he's had the best boundaries, you know, like, you know, but also so compassionate and so much more patient with her than I am.
Oh,
you know, right. Because since he was 3, just
He's
knew
just,
this fact
yeah.
about his grandmother, and he's just gonna like, oh, well, that's just how she is, and and I'll just cut my boundary off when I need to, like, say, okay, I've had enough of this, whatever, and it
That's
was
so
it's
beautiful. Those
really
boundaries are
beautiful.
so hard sometimes when we have not grown up with them. Oh man, trying to figure out how to place those boundaries compassionately is, yeah.
Yeah. And even when we do it compassionately, sometimes it still hurts other people. And so it's, how they receive it is their business. And
That comes from the tough love spectrum. Like, I'm sorry, but I gotta love me first.
and it's not selfish, it's self-preservation.
That whole thing about selfishness, oh man.
It's a lie they tell you so they can control you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you got some statements. So I'll send you your list of statements to keep working with. And then we'll just keep plugging away.
Yay.
And so for anybody watching along, I guess we have plans to do this periodically. Heather wants to share her journey. And all around, we all are needing to share the things that have been kept secret for a long time. Some of these things that, we were just talking about copyrights, and, there's a lot of different ways that things have been kind of held a little too closely, and it's time for us to just open up and share all the things that work for, a segment of the human population. We all find different modalities that work for us, right? If you try energy psychology and it doesn't give you what you're looking for, then no hard feelings. You just keep looking, and if
There's something out there.
Yes.
There's so many.
I really find that we're nudged to like kind of check out different things, and then we end up kind of coming back. I always have people, that will come and say, well, I did some, PSYCH-K 10 years ago, and it was good, but I'm just not sure, blah, 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 but it keeps coming up. So I just figured I better look into that and see, and then we have this major breakthrough, right? Because it was time again to revisit that modality. And, it's really interesting how the universe works and how our guidance works and how all this stuff works. It's a puzzle and a mystery, but it sure is fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear how things go as you keep on moving into shining your light in bigger and better and more expanded.
Bigger, better, brighter supernova.
Yes. Yay. Okay. I know the song that we're going to exit on. I don't know if we'll get a copyright claim, but hopefully Liz Fair will be. Well, I don't know. It's a fun song. All right. All right, yeah. So you know what to do for your homework. You can muscle test which way to balance it, right?
Yeah.
So if a goddess moon salute is, if you can do it in a shorter way.
I can usually feel energetically if it's one that's not, quite as deep, that I don't need like the energetic, that I don't need the goddess moon salute for. I can do like twisting or whatever, and then I'll test it. And
yeah.
Right. And sometimes I'm not, but.
Yeah. And so, yeah, a twisting one and then the balancing one you've done enough times. And that's what I love about this work, is that once somebody's been doing this for a little while, I can really just say, like, help them with some statements, maybe, as, if they need help with statements, but you have a lot of tools. And I'm in the business of helping people not need me and not need anyone.
Birds to fly.
Right. And so, and that is, sometimes it takes a little while, right? I went to a facilitator for, off and on for many years before, I started doing it. Well, I would do it at home by myself, just me and my husband. But before I, branched off to like do it with anybody else.
Yeah.
So I forgot where I was going with that. So anyway,
whatever it was, it needed to be said, right?
Yeah, I don't know. There was a point, but it's okay if if we don't make it today, because we'll make it in our next. That's what I was ultimately talking about, is we will resume. We will resume soon, but Heather's going to work on her statements that she has, and she has several balances that she can use, or limit clearance processes that she can use too. And I need to check off. I easily notice when I lose connection. That was a balancing.
Okay, I won't forget that one.
Yeah. That's true. But in a year, you might forget.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, because it's on the video.
That's
okay.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So back to, I guess, just saying goodbye to everybody watching the video. Yeah. So we will come back. We will see. We'll get an update from Heather about how things are going, and how things go with doing these statements that you have for homework. And it's just really valuable. So we'll spend some time. Remind me. Let's spend some time just kind of going over that process for you, because I know a lot of times we don't do that when we get together. But let's do it for the camera next time. Okay. So that'll be our teaser for next time. That next time we'll talk about that process of kind of doing the homework, and whatever resistance that you encounter, is really important information in doing our practice on our own when we don't have somebody there holding our hand, because we need to do both. Right. And my goal, that's what I was talking about before. My goal is just for it to be fewer and further between that you need to come to me or anybody else, and so as this is just like an exponential process, right? Heather is, well, I won't get into all that. There's so much that we can just keep going.
I know. We will keep going too if we.
I know, because it's getting late. Okay, so thanks everybody for watching. We'll continue this next time, and we'll hear about Heather's process with doing her homework and doing these statements on her own. So make notes of like what balances you used and kind of how you went through that process on your own, because it'll be valuable for people to hear.
Yeah, it'll help you be present too. So if I have to write down whatever resistance I encountered or whatever discomfort.
Yes, it's just another journaling opportunity for real. Yeah. I've got my morning. I have kind of my morning pages book has become like it's morning pages, but then it's also like balances I'm doing, and like oh yeah, I need to remember to do this thing. Visioning notebook. So
yeah, I have just like I don't even know. I just have a notebook that all of this stuff goes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my notebook for like self-expansion.
Right. Yeah. Yes. All right. So we'll say goodbye. Mwah. See everybody next time. We'll do some more energy psychology and share a little more of these crazy processes that are such new paradigm, things that a lot of people are really it's new stuff is nerve-wracking. So I appreciate you doing this in front of everybody.
Yeah.
It's a brave soul that will do this in front of everybody. So thank you for doing that, and thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah.